That brings us to our discussion agenda and our strategic plan shown in Exhibit E.
Yes, and going to work already on my goals. Goal number 2 is to develop a 5-year strategic plan for 2016 through 2021. And Mr. Bounds will do the introduction.
Thank you, sir. As I said in your packet, every 5 years the district must get a new district strategic plan approved at the State Department of Education. Last year, both our strategic plan and our advanced ed process were scheduled to happen simultaneously. We asked for and received approval from the Department of Education to defer our strategic plan for 1 year. And what this did for us was enable us to align our results from our advanced ed process so that they can be incorporated into the new district strategic plan. So we'll be now on a cycle where we get our advanced ed process, a complete review of the district operations, and we'll be able to take those results and use those to shape our district strategic plan. This year, we're very fortunate to bring on board Helen Anderson to help lead that process. As you know, she's formerly our Chief Instruction Officer, and she did a great job, and I'll introduce Helen to just tell you a little bit more about the process.
Hey everybody, good to see you again. Strategic planning. This has been a wonderful process. As Mr. Bounds said, that every 5 years we come up with a strategic plan, and that's our outline or the plan for the next 5 years. And just a little bit about how the plan, we started on August the 24th, going to executive staff. The different departments took the advanced ed accreditation report. They took Dr. Hefner's goals. They took the plan for 2010 through 2015 and developed within their departments the goals that they wanted for the next 5 years with their group. We formed a strategic planning committee. It was made up of SIC chairs from different schools. It was made up of principals, assistant principals, clerical staff, and community members. A number of parents were on our committee. After the district did their work, the different departments, and they had representatives on our committee also, then we started our committee meetings, and they went exceedingly well. And they would create different things, tweak, have questions, and so forth. And after our first meeting, I took it back to the departments, met with representatives of each department. We went over what the committee saw and some things that they wanted. We tweaked again, and they tweaked again, rather. And then we went back to the committee and for a final review. And so you have that in front of you. On December the 14th, we're asking for a vote on it because this has to go to the schools. It'll go to the SICs of each school and, of course, the administrative staff for them to start developing their school renewal plans. Each school has to have a renewal plan, and all of this is due in on April the 15th. So we want them to get started right after the holidays, because it does take, they have to have community members and so forth as part of their school plans. If you have any questions about the process, I'd be glad to answer those. If you have questions about the different goals, I will tell you I did have one question of why are there 5 goals. The state does require 4, one for student achievement, one for teacher quality, and one for school climate, and then you get to select another goal, any goal of your choice. 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, I guess now, student achievement is what we're all doing here, and that's why we're here, and we didn't feel that we could put student achievement in one goal. So there's 2 student achievement goals. We also, for the other goal, we felt that finance and communication was very important, and so you'll see that's the 5th goal. So there's 5 goals total. If you have any questions about the goals, the strategies, or the action plan, the chiefs can answer those for you.
Okay. I believe I saw a hand up already, Ms. Lovelace.
I know you said this is working with advanced ed. And so for each goal, do we get documentation back, or do we send documentation to advanced ed every year? And do we get updates from them? do we send do we send or send our goals, what we're doing to them, so they know what we're doing?
I'm going to let Dr. Melton answer that.
Isn't that nice, Ms. Anderson, to do that?
No, hey,
Way to go.
Everything I do well and right, Helen Anderson taught me. The mistakes I made at work on my own, so Helen, certainly my tutor for sure. Although my microphone is not going to be cooperative. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Loveless, for the question. Advanced Ed requires an update 2 years after the visit, so you have 2 years to work on your improvement priorities. Up until that point, it's up to us to work on things that are on pace. So you'll notice Dr. Hefner's incorporated the improvement priorities within his 10 goals, and then we're also working on things as a staff regarding grading that we didn't think were quite appropriate for Dr. Hefner's goals. But everything else that Ms. Anderson and the team have incorporated built upon the Advanced Ed process, but also the previous plan that we had in effect of things that we felt needed to be continued rather than deleted to show continuity in our work rather than starting fresh with a whole new idea.
So in 2 years, you do send what you're doing to.
Yes, ma'am, we have to give an update. So the 2 improvement priorities that we have, one was about grading, one was about working as a system, which Dr. Hefner has as, I believe, goal 4, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Hefner. So with those 2, I'll have to give an update next year. So it was 2 years from April of 2015. So April of 2017, I have to offer an update as far as if we're in progress, if it's completed or not yet started. And by that time, of course, things will be either in progress or perhaps even completed, depending on how far we've gotten along in the process.
Do they answer you back and
They
give you
do.
a?
The state office, the State Advanced Ed Office reviews what we'll be submitting. They offer whether they've accepted it. If they have further questions, they'll send the questions back to me as a representative for School District 5 that will then make sure that we've answered and resubmit to them whatever they're looking for. But the state office has a state committee that reviews the reports as well, so it's not just one reader. It's a whole committee that looks over things, and they'll have the readers review and then offer feedback or either accept what we've submitted at that point.
Thank you for your answer.
Absolutely.
I did want to include also that the committee and the different departments looked at the vision statement and the mission statement. Everyone was pleased with the vision statement, did not want to do anything to change that. But in the mission statement, if you see, we have down that we are an educational system. With Dr. Hefner's goal and with his presentations talking about that, we thought that that was important to put that in the mission. So that was tweaked. The other new thing, or it's been in the last couple of years, the State Department wants an interim performance goal. So what the committee and the departments had to do was come up with a goal that will that they'll work on for this year. So it's kind of a sub-goal of the large goal. And then in a year, the different departments will we will get back together and say, okay, if we met this goal, where are we with this goal, and so forth.
Wow.
I'll recognize Ms. Hudson and Ms. Hammond.
When I look at this report, I appreciate the fact that you include the estimated cost. And of course, with all these good ideas, there are costs involved. My question is whether or not, if the board approves this, is this obligating ourselves to the money that is outlined in here? We don't have, it seems a little bit premature to say, yes, we want to move forward, and then as we just had this long discussion earlier, we don't know what type of revenue. So
Right.
it seems like it's a little bit risky for us to approve this, not knowing what type of money. So I don't want to obligate the board.
Yes, and what happens with this is a plan, and every year there'll be a district committee that gets together and goes over the plan every year. And I remember we would say, okay, we're working on this is never going to happen, you know, sometimes this has been done and whatever, but you're not obligated to it. This is a plan, it's an outline of where we would like to go. But it is a plan, and it's not, if you pass this isn't something that absolutely you're saying, okay, because we have things, like when 2008 hit, when I was here, you know, we had things in that strategic plan that we could not possibly do financially. So the cost, that the form that you see is from the State Department, because they want an estimate of things that you're looking at, and they want you to have an estimate and us to have an estimate of it. So sometimes you'll have, you know, as you say in there, to be determined or whatever. They'll take a salary if they're asking for more teachers or whatever, and they'll just give an average cost per teacher and so forth. So no. Are you obligated to absolutely do everything in this plan? No. It's just, it is an outline, a plan, and you do want to try to meet it because these are the things that you want, but as we know, that can't always be. Right.
Well, it does concern me, just because it's a great plan, and I think we do have to have these goals, but it does worry me down the road. So when it comes to our budget, then we hear, well, this is what the board recommended, and this is what you approved, and this is what you agreed that we would move forward. And that really puts the board members at a very uncomfortable place, because, yeah, we support it, but that doesn't mean that right now we can obligate ourselves to being able to pay for that. And I understand what you're saying, but I'm just trying to explain I
understand
my
what you're saying.
discomfort with that.
Ma'am, we'll take it back to the Department of Education and see if we cannot just put TBD or to be determined in that estimated cost column. I don't know the purpose of that for their records, and so we understand your concern, and if we can remove those specific numbers from the plan, we'll be happy to try to do that.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think you really need to take away the numbers, because the reality is that you've got some good estimates, which is better than some of the things that you can't estimate. However, I just want to make it very clear that we might be approving the strategic plan, but we can't obligate ourselves to this if we don't know how much money we're going to have.
Right.
And so that's the bottom line, is that I don't want us to be put in a position where it's like, well, you said we could do it, but then now you're saying we can't.
Gotcha. And the 2010 to 2015, there were several things on there that we did not do because of cost or because of finances and resources. So I see where you're coming from, but it is a plan, it's an outline, hopefully we can do that. And then sometimes, like in a year, you might have something on here, because this has happened before many times, and you'll say, what were we thinking? We need to be doing this, not this. And that's why you tweak it every year. So every year you go back over it at the district level. You can get a committee at the district level and go back up, just like the schools do with their school renewal plans.
Thank you.
Ms. Hammond.
Before I ask my question, just along with what Ms. Hutchinson was asking, just not to go over what y'all have said, but just so I'm clear where it is under these costs, let's say like it says $1,000 per facilitator times 40. So if this was funded like Ms. Hutchinson was worrying and we did this one, there'd be 40 different people across the district being a facilitator, and each got $1,000 for that time.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay. I never realized how that played out. But thank you. And I think Ms. Hutchinson's point's well taken. My question was this. On the goals, I have some specifics about that strategy 1.4 will utilize all available data to ensure that each student is provided appropriately challenging curriculum. I don't want any details on that tonight, but that's one that I would really like to know some of the indicators that you're going to use just as a teacher, because I think that one's really, it's critical, and it's important for teachers to know how we evaluate it, and there's nothing in that evaluation.
Well, that is in there. If you look at the data part.
I'm sorry, I'm looking in the square beside it.
Oh, okay. Well, the Office of Instruction, and Christina, you can talk about this too, but the Office of Instruction put baselines, if you look on these pages, and they tell you what kind of testing.
Is it
For
down?
instance, MAP testing is on there, the state tests are on there. So that's why there's so much data, because you have to have, especially with the Office of Instruction, the data is intense because we have so much.
One of the goals really across most districts is rigor along with relevance. But rigor sometimes is hard to evaluate, because rigor for one standard of child is different than rigor for the advanced child. You know, so I just really want to be a part of understanding that, not, like I said, not tonight. But then my other question was, when we set our goals, do we have a different goal for Title I schools? Or the strategic plans for whether you're Title I or not Title I, does it vary with the goals?
Well, we do have Title I goals.
So that's what I'm
separate.
saying, they're separate
Right.
from the other schools.
Right, and if you look through here, you'll see
Yeah,
Title I, Title II,
I
all
did.
through this.
But I didn't know whether, if I see it and it doesn't have Title I beside it, then it's not there, they don't have that goal. Or if it's got Title II beside it, you know, that's what I wanted to know, whether they had the same goals and which were different and which.
Their goals are pretty much included in this because.
Well, I would think so.
The coordinator of Title I and II was involved in this process with instruction.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hammond, I'll also add Title II for those that may not know. I don't have a microphone issue.
Just take Lynn's.
Okay, here I got it. This is Liz, I had to put my nail in it. Okay. Title II, for those of you that may not know, especially for the audience, this is funding from the federal government for teacher quality. So Title II funds impact all of our schools for certified teaching staff, not just those in our Title I schools. But where Ms. Anderson and her committee have noted Title I, that's where we have earmarked federal funds for those Title I schools. However, that doesn't excuse other schools from meeting these same expectations. It's just a supplement in addition. But I'll add, as Ms. Anderson said, there are Title I plans that our Title I schools have to submit. So even though they're going to mirror this process and make sure the renewal plan at the school is under the district umbrella, they could always add to it. In addition to this document, our Title I schools submit an additional plan to the state government, that the State Department of Education, that is then sent to the federal government and reviewed and audited by the State Department. So our Title I schools, of which we have 6 of our 12 elementary schools, they have a layer almost as accountability and auditing, but also their performance levels are certainly in addition to this. But these expectations you see are defined for all of our school District 5, but there is some unique additions for the Title I schools because additional funds they get from the federal grant of the Title I funding.
You got it, thank you.
I will tell you, too, that if you look at Goal 5, it's much broader than the other 4 goals. And the reason for that is finance, because you don't have a budget. You don't have a 5-year budget, so your budget is every year. So with finance, you can see that it's much, much broader in things that on the strategies, on the activities and so forth, because of not having a budget to go on every year.
Mr. White, I believe you had a question.
I was just going to ask, given I know it's the plan, there's flexibility and it changes, but is it appropriate to footnote this with this plan is dependent upon us getting funding? Just so these things tend to get picked up and say, look what y'all approved and did, and then on the one hand, you're having this conversation about, don't even know if your budgets, you can meet your budgets,
Sure.
and then you turn around and prove this. So, it's just a footnote, and it's a reminder to everybody that this is dependent upon.
That's easy. We can do that.
Good point, good point. Any other questions? Ms. Anderson, thank you for helping us
Thank you.
put this together, and I'm sure we might hear more in the future. So, thank you. All right, that was a great discussion around that. Before we adjourn, which is the next item, I wanted to remind everybody that our next board meeting will be December 14th at the center. And of course, Thanksgiving holidays are coming in between, so I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Mr. Regal, I know I just saw you again. We failed to do something I'd like for you to help us with, and that is we'd like for the students that were here tonight, would you give them on our behalf one of our golden rulers? And also, I'm talking about Mr. Gossett and Mr. Barrett. And also, I don't know the Shrek performers, but if you'd give them to them, and I hope we'll see them all over the weekend performing away. And that was wonderful, by the way. So we really appreciate that. So if you'd do that for us, we'd appreciate it. And the last thing I want to say to you is we all received, I think everybody received some artwork. Ms. White's got his right here, but beautiful artwork from the students here. And we really appreciate that. All the board members just commented and oohed and awed. So thank you very much for that. You have a lot of great things going on here at Irmo High School. We appreciate it. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Hammond,
I move we adjourn.
have a second? Ms. Baumgardner, all those in favor, raise your hand, and we are adjourned for the season.
What was the date? Thursday or Friday?